Hi guys, my name is Sarah Khaffagy. I covered a chapter in Dan Ariely's book titled Predictably Irrational. So the chapter that I covered is titled The Context of Our Character, Part 2. Um, and about the author. So Dan Ariely is a professor of psychology and behavioral economics. He teaches at Duke University and has many highly viewed TED Talks. He's also the author of two New York Times bestsellers, The Honest Truth About Dishonesty and then Predictably Irrational, which is what I'm covering. Okay. So in this chapter, the context of our character, part two, um, Ariely basically discusses the lack of ethical behavior and dishonesty during a period of corporate scams. And so he measures the likelihood of people cheating for their financial benefit and ways to keep them truthful. Um, our conscience plays a role in our decisions. We can cheat up to the place where it would irritate our conscience, said Dan Ariely. Um, okay, so in the specific chapter, he states that dealing with cash makes us more honest. Why? We are more likely to be dishonest with valuable non cash items than with cold hard cash. And to prove this, he conducted an experiment in which he titled Coke versus Cash. So in this experiment, he aerially placed a six-pack of Coca-Cola in a shared college dormitory fridge. And even though this fridge was shared, the contents of this fridge were privately owned. So everyone had their own private possessions in that fridge. Okay, so after placing the Cokes inside the fridge, he checked every 2 hours, and surely one by one, each of the Cokes started to disappear. And within 72 hours, all of the Cokes were gone. He then placed a plate in the fridge with six $1 bills, and after 72 hours, not a single dollar was gone. So this experiment proves his thesis of people are more likely to be dishonest with non-cash items of value than with cash, because he states that with cash, if somebody takes cash, they are a thief. That's just plain and evident. But if they take something like a pencil, let's say, from the company they work for, then there are various excuses that they can make inside of their mind um, as to why what they're doing, to justify their action. Like, oh, this is part of my compensation. Everybody does it. It's just a pencil, etc. I've included a short video of him talking about this experiment. Here, I've included the YouTube link below, and if you could skip to about 1 minute and 20 seconds, that's where he really starts talking in depth about the experiment. Okay, so how does this apply to human resources? Well, human resource departments are expert resources, and in the area of healthcare administration, they are knowledgeable of healthcare environment and all of its workforce needs. So this chapter of Ariely's book relates to human resources in a lot of ways. If there's ever fraud or a scam involving money, then the human resources would be one of the responsible calls for providing strategic guidance to resolve this issue and prevent it from happening again, and reporting their findings to a higher source, such as president or CEO. Okay, so how does it apply to healthcare? Well, a good example is that during open enrollment season for health insurance, scammers are like out in full force looking for vulnerable prey, trying to find affordable medical coverage and prescription plans. So, continuing, from the statement that I just said, this can lead to identity and credit card theft, which are two things that are very valuable to someone that are being taken away from that someone that isn't necessarily paper money. It's not cold hard cash. So, and another good example is Medicare scams. So, in conclusion, Dan Ariely's thesis and experiment on why dealing with cash makes us more honest is very relevant and significant. Not only does it relate to human resources and healthcare, but most likely every other work field. Our society is gravitating towards, using less cash and more symbolic transactions such as PayPal, credit cards, gift cards, etc. So, according to Ariely's theory and his successful experiment backing up his theory, this will make it a lot easier for people to become dishonest and steal, but convince themselves otherwise. Convince themselves that they are not thieves. That what they're doing isn't necessarily stealing, even though it is. Okay, and that's it. Thank you for listening.